Okay, welcome back. Now, today we're going to look at how to create my text analytics service. So the text analytics service, as mentioned before, uses an array of third-party services to analyze text. In this case, I'm going to use Watson to do a number of those. Now, let's have a look at what I'm actually talking about. So IBM Watson, for example, uses natural language understanding to do a number of things such as insights, understand concept. There is a demo of it as well somewhere around here. You can use the demo. There you go. Just to see exactly what it does. There you go. So there's some text there. And let's say analyze. There you go. So you get emotions, keywords, entities, everything else. And this is one of the things that I want to use. So now to do that, what do I need to know? I need to know if you go on the Get Started, you will find documents and everything. Documentation is the most important thing. So you will find exactly how the service works, what it requires, what it needs, what it will return. And you will need the SDK. So it's all in the Getting Started. But most third-party, good third-party services will have some very good documentation for you to work with. So, and here there's a lot of examples and there's all the information on how to use it. So let's get into the actual code. So let's have a look. I've already done a little bit, just very simple thing. The one thing that I did was, first of all, to add IBM Watson as a package, because I'm using the SDK, so you need to have this installed, and that's all in the Getting Started, in the documentation of the service. So that's been added, and then I started it. After you do your npmi, then you also need to go and start your server. Now, keep in mind that I already have another service running on port 8080, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to do it 8081. I'm going to save it. Now, what do I have here? So this is what is required to call the identifier, the natural language understanding service. This is what you use to connect, because now you're using a third-party service, so you have to use whatever authentication method they use. And this is my API key. Now the API key, I'm going to delete it afterwards, doesn't matter. Not now. And this, for example, you can find it here when you initialize a service on Watson, on IBM Cloud, you will get to this part which provides you with the API key. So let's go back in here. I added another endpoint, which is similar to what we had before, which is just to analyze text. So for now, I have this part as well. So I can call it. Let's see if all of these things work together at the moment. As always, I use Nodemon to get my thing started. Nodemon server.js. So starting on 8081. Let's go to Postman to check that everything works. So this one is going to call on 8081 instead. I'm going to send it. Cool. So everything works so far. Now, let's see. I want to call this. So let's have a look at actually how I would do that. That's fine. So I needed some code. So these are all the basic things. So these are NLU specific. So I'm going to create here, I'm creating a NLU object, which is coming from the natural language understanding. I am authenticating using the authenticator and passing my key, which is this key here. So this is required, and you will find it in the SDK. It actually tells you that's how you do it. So you can't really run away from this. And now I have a function to analyze the text. And let's see, I'll actually go through this. Don't really need this anymore. It was just for testing. So first of all, I pass the text, which is coming from this guy. So this will pass the text. So I'm not going to do, no, I'll leave it there actually. So I pass the text, and I need to create an object which the natural language understanding service understands. Nice game of words there. So you don't choose what the service will take. They will give you a template and you have to use that. The same way, when you write your service, you need to tell the user what you want. So this is a template that they gave me, and it's saying that I need to pass the text and how many features I want to be analyzed. Okay, so, and that's the object that I need to pass. And this is the, instead is the actual object for analyzing. So NLU, which is created up here, and analyze is his internal function. So analyze parameters, so I'm using this object, which contains the text as well. And this is what happens when it returns. So when it returns, I'm going to console log here, but also what I'm doing is I am sending it back to the user. So this is coming back to the user. Now, how am I doing this? This is what we call a callback, and it might be a little bit complex. It's also what we generally say, that this is the hell of the callbacks, because the way things work on the web is that everything is asynchronous. So we can't say do action 2 after action 1. It's a bit more complicated than that. There are two ways of doing it. One is to use a callback, and the other one is to use particular strategies such as promises. Now, promises are very difficult for people who haven't used or are very good programmers, so I will skip it for now, and I will do the simple thing, which is to do a callback instead. So how am I doing this? Because you can pass functions as objects in JavaScript, what you can do is you can pass a function to a function. So you can say, do this, and then when you're done, execute the function that I'm passing you. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. So this is called analyze. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to say analyze, and now I need to pass two things. I'm going to pass the text, but also I'm going to pass the response object. So I'm not going to do the response here anymore, because otherwise it will close the connection. So in order for, I want to send a response after I am done with the analysis. So it will, if we look at this, we're passing the text and the response. So we analyze, and then once the analysis is done, we send the response back to the user, or back to whoever called it. So analyze text response. So I pass it over here, and there you go. So if everything goes well, this should work like a charm. Now I believe I need to have a little bit more context here. So let me just find something very quickly. If poem, I'm a very big fan of Kipling. So I'm gonna get this whole thing. I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna go to Postman. I'm gonna use that as parameter. Definitely not a good parameter. Looks really bad from here, but let's try. Give it a go. I'm gonna send it, and as you can see, it's taking a while now, and that's because it's doing the analysis as well. And there you go. Now we have the complete analysis done. So what are we seeing here? We have used a third-party service, and we have used a callback to actually do the analysis first, and then once the analysis is done, return that analysis back to whoever called it. So the main takeaway in this case is to understand this concept of sending something after an other action has taken place. It is not straightforward when you create web services. It is a little bit complex, especially if you come from programming languages such as C or Java, where everything is synchronous. So it's quite more complex to understand. And that's why we're using the simplest way possible this time. So the next part will be to connect everything. Thank you. Bye.